What drives us to lose ourselves in a whirlwind of fleeting stimuli while ignoring the vastness of our inner world? Modern restlessness hides behind the apparent allure of immediate pleasure, that fleeting spark of happiness that promises to ease the void but ultimately reinforces our disconnection from our deepest self. Carl Jung's perspective on addiction invites us to look beyond the surface, revealing that the constant craving for instant gratification is nothing more than a symptom of an existential and spiritual crisis. From a Jungian perspective, the relentless pursuit of quick stimuli, whether it be social media notifications, thrilling video games, impulsive shopping, or excessive entertainment consumption, is not merely an overflow of pleasure. It is, at its core, a silent cry exposing the loss of connection with our authentic self and the failure to integrate the complexities of our psyche. Every time we succumb to the spell of the immediate, we consciously or unconsciously avoid diving into the depths of our unconscious, that mysterious and often unsettling terrain that longs to be explored and understood. The compulsion for quick pleasure serves as an escape, a route of avoidance from repressed emotions, unresolved traumas, and the shadows lurking behind the mask of everyday life. In this process, the unconscious, always yearning to express itself, is restrained by a barrier of denial and self-deception. Frustration, anxiety, and fear morph into an endless cycle, where the pursuit of gratification becomes a painful substitute for the inner work necessary for true personal transformation. This cycle of avoidance perpetuates the disconnection from the self, that essential core representing the wholeness and authenticity of our being. As we delve into this territory, we inevitably confront the paradox of modern existence. Despite being immersed in a universe of possibilities, we feel lonelier and emptier than ever. The addiction to dopamine, that relentless pursuit of immediate rewards, traps us in shallow distractions that, while providing brief moments of pleasure, pull us away from the essence of who we are. The inability to pause, to reflect, leads us to a fragmented existence, where every experience is reduced to a transaction of stimulus and reward, leaving no space for inner dialogue or spiritual connection. The social mask Jung called the persona plays a crucial role in this phenomenon. From childhood, we learn to wear predefined roles to gain acceptance, to fit into a society that often rewards appearance over authenticity. This external validation is reinforced through digital platforms that, with every like and comment, feed the illusion of belonging and worth. However, behind this facade lies a fragile and empty identity, incapable of sustaining a deep sense of purpose. The constant pursuit of approval turns into an invisible prison, one that traps the true essence of the individual and prevents them from embarking on the arduous path of individuation. Individuation, that essential process for achieving wholeness, is hindered by the relentless need to fill an existential void with fleeting pleasures. Vital energy, the force Jung called libido, which manifests in creativity and the ability to transform, is dissipated on the surface of external stimuli. When channeled chaotically into instant gratification, this energy stagnates, preventing the evolution toward a full and authentic existence. The key to restoring this vital flow lies in redirecting our attention toward activities that require genuine commitment to personal growth, where the process and learning become ends in themselves rather than mere means to obtain immediate pleasure. Jung's approach goes beyond simple self-control techniques. It is a call to integrate all aspects of the self. Dopamine addiction, in this context, reveals itself as a symptom of a deeper internal struggle, a resistance to facing the totality of our being, including those parts we would rather keep hidden. The path to healing, then, involves an honest encounter with the shadow, that repressed and dark portion of ourselves that harbors both fears and unexplored potential. Confronting the shadow is no easy task. It requires the courage to acknowledge wounds, suppressed anger, and unmet desires, as well as the willingness to transform these aspects into sources of wisdom and creativity. Introspection becomes an indispensable tool on this journey. When we take the time to reflect on what truly drives us to seek constant distractions, we often discover that it is a desperate attempt to avoid the pain of facing our inner void. The repression of painful emotions and experiences creates an abyss where, instead of finding solace, the sense of loneliness and disconnection only deepens. In this sense, True liberation does not come from suppressing or ignoring these emotions but from accepting them and learning to coexist with them, allowing their energy to become a catalyst for positive change. The deeper meaning of suffering emerges as another essential element in this transformation. The absence of a clear purpose manifests as an inability to find fulfillment in activities that, in theory, should nourish us. The constant search for gratification turns into a futile attempt to fill a void that can only be addressed through a connection with something greater. The integration of spirituality, understood as the reconnection with the self, reveals itself as the master key to unlocking this mystery. By opening ourselves to the possibility of finding transcendent meaning in our lives, we stop relying solely on external stimuli and allow ourselves to experience a fulfillment that goes beyond mere immediate satisfaction. The process of reconnection involves a profound transformation in how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. It requires abandoning the dependence on external validation and cultivating a sincere relationship with our own essence. Meditation, introspection, and the study of philosophical texts emerge as fundamental practices on this path, as they invite us to explore the vast territory of the self and uncover internal resources we had long forgotten. Each moment of reflection becomes an act of courage, a firm step toward authenticity and the liberation from the chains imposed by a system that values the superficial over the genuine. This transformation is neither linear nor free of difficulties. On the contrary, it requires going through moments of crisis and confronting those dark aspects we have long relegated to oblivion. Resistance to change may manifest as the temptation to retreat into the comfort of the familiar, to abandon the arduous process of self-discovery in favor of quick and superficial solutions. However, every relapse, every moment of weakness, holds a valuable lesson that brings us closer to understanding our true selves. It is in the struggle against inertia and conformity that authenticity is forged, where we cultivate the ability to transform pain into strength and uncertainty into clarity. The path to integration is, ultimately, a journey without shortcuts, where every step, no matter how small, contributes to the reconstruction of a solid and authentic identity. As we reconnect with the totality of our being, we leave behind the need to seek externally what can only be found within. The experience of personal transformation becomes a dance in which light and shadow intertwine, giving rise to a unique symphony of shades and emotions that enrich our existence. This integration allows us to see life with new eyes, to appreciate the complexity of every experience, and to recognize that, in the apparent fragility of the everyday, lies the strength of a soul in constant evolution. The challenge lies in learning to navigate this path with determination and patience, without falling into the trap of perfectionism or self-indulgence. True strength resides in the ability to embrace our imperfections and, in doing so, discover the beauty that emerges from vulnerability. Instead of fleeing from the intense emotions that arise in the process, we are invited to experience them in their full complexity, recognizing that every tear, every moment of anguish, is an integral part of constructing a fulfilling existence. The courage to confront our inner darkness opens the doors to a dimension where authenticity and integrity stand as the fundamental pillars of a meaningful life. It is essential to understand that the transformation being proposed does not seek to eradicate pleasure or the ability to enjoy life, but rather to redirect that energy toward a higher purpose. Dopamine in itself is not the enemy. It is how we channel its impulses that determines whether it leads us toward enlightenment or into an abyss of superficiality. By recognizing that instant gratification is merely a manifestation of a deeper need, we are given the opportunity to rediscover the value of the process, to take delight in the journey, and to find satisfaction in the very evolution of being. Every moment of introspection, every challenge overcome on the path to integration, brings us closer to a broader understanding of our nature. The struggle against dopamine addiction becomes a metaphor for the internal battle for authenticity, where each step, no matter how small, represents a victory over inertia and conformity. This journey not only reconnects the individual with their essence but also invites them to become part of a universe where the spiritual and the material unite in a sublime dance of contrasts and harmony. The resonance of these ideas manifests in how we experience everyday life. Moments of silence, which may initially seem uncomfortable or even terrifying, become gateways to an inner world full of nuances and possibilities. It is in this stillness that the answers we have always sought begin to emerge, where every emotion, whether intense or subtle, reveals itself as an indispensable part of the narrative of our existence. The invitation is to live each experience with full awareness, to savor the complexity of being, and to recognize that at the intersection of light and shadow, the true essence of life takes shape. This journey toward authenticity also requires a reconfiguration of our relationships with others. By freeing ourselves from the need for external validation, we open the door to more sincere and meaningful connections. Interactions cease to be mere superficial exchanges and transform into deep dialogues, where every word and every silence become reflections of inner truth. In this sense, the community stands as a mirror in which we can recognize and accept both our strengths and our weaknesses, fostering a support network that encourages collective growth. The beauty of this process lies in the ability to transform pain into a driving force for change, to turn adversity into an opportunity to discover the greatness that resides within. Every challenge, every moment of despair, becomes a lesson that brings us closer to the realization of our potential, to the understanding that true freedom is found in accepting the totality of our being. The search for meaning that transcends the ephemeral thus becomes an act of rebellion against a society that privileges the immediate over the lasting, the superficial over the profound. As we advance on this journey, conflicting emotions arise: melancholy for missed opportunities, exhilaration for every firm step taken, and the uncertainty that accompanies the process of shedding old masks. This blend of emotions, far from weakening us, strengthens us, as it reminds us that life, in its complexity, is a tapestry of contrasts and shades. Personal reinvention is built on the foundation of honesty, resilience, and the ability to embrace change with an open mind and heart. At the culmination of this journey, the individual finds not only a deeper understanding of themselves but also the certainty that every moment lived, every inner battle fought, contributes to the creation of an authentic and robust identity. The integration of the psychological and the spiritual translates into a symphony of experiences, where each note, no matter how fleeting, carries the echo of a profound and liberating transformation. It is this inner alchemy that allows gratification to no longer be merely a chemical response but a reflection of the fulfillment attained by living in alignment with the true self. On this path, the challenge is not only to resist the temptation of immediacy but to discover and appreciate the richness hidden in slowness and depth. The art of living is rediscovered in the ability to pause, to immerse oneself in silence, and to find within it the voice that calls us to transcend routine. Every moment of reflection becomes an act of creation, an affirmation of life in its purest state, stripped of artifices and conventions. The true reward arises in understanding that by integrating the totality of our being, we emerge not as incomplete beings, but as whole individuals, capable of experiencing the pleasure of authenticity and the beauty of inner growth. The journey toward rediscovering the self is, without a doubt, a path of contrasts, where the struggle against the compulsion for the ephemeral blends with the deep joy of self-awareness. The metamorphosis that takes place in the soul manifests in subtle gestures, in the sincere smile that emerges when reconnecting with an old dream, in the peace felt when accepting the scars of the past, and in the vibrant energy that radiates upon discovering a purpose that transcends the material. This inner rebirth is not the result of an abrupt change but of a gradual and constant transformation, where each experience becomes a stepping stone toward fulfillment. The discovery of the true meaning of existence, hidden behind the masks imposed by society, reveals that the internal struggle to free ourselves from dopamine addiction is, ultimately, an invitation to reconnect with the forgotten essence of our humanity. By ceasing to rely on external stimuli to feel alive, we open the possibility of rediscovering the vastness of an inner universe that has always been there, waiting to be explored. Every act of courage, every decision to look inward instead of escaping into the fleeting, becomes an affirmation of life and a celebration of authenticity. Ultimately, Jung's perspective on addiction offers us a path of transformation that goes beyond mere impulse control. It is an invitation to dive into the depths of our being, to face the shadows that dwell within us, and to rediscover the light hidden behind the apparent darkness. Liberation is not found in rejecting dopamine or denying pleasure, but in the ability to integrate it into a life that breathes authenticity, purpose, and spiritual connection. With every step along the way, we are reminded that true freedom lies in the courage to explore our inner world, in the strength to transform emptiness into an inexhaustible source of creativity, and in the wisdom to recognize that, in the union of light and shadow, the essence of what we are is forged. By embracing this holistic vision, existence transforms into a continuous journey of discovery, where each day becomes an opportunity to rediscover the inherent beauty of the complexity of being. The struggle against dopamine addiction, understood from a deep and transcendental perspective, turns into an act of self-love, a determination to forge a path that transcends superficiality and embraces the totality of the human experience. It is in that commitment to authenticity that we find the courage to be reborn, to transform compulsion into a creative dance that leads us, step by step, toward a life filled with meaning and light. Every lived experience, every challenge faced on this path, becomes a testament to the transformative power that lies in integrating our internal contradictions. The connection with the self, that immutable essence dwelling in the deepest part of us, guides us toward an existence where gratification is not merely a chemical response but the sublime expression of a life in harmony with itself. The journey toward authenticity thus becomes an exhilarating odyssey, where every obstacle overcome and every shadow embraced shapes the foundation of a genuine and luminous destiny. The story written within each of us is as unique as the heartbeat of a heart, intertwining moments of struggle with instances of sublime discovery. The pursuit of personal transformation, inspired by Jung's vision, challenges us to renounce the illusion of immediate pleasure and immerse ourselves in the depth of an existence where true joy resides in the process of being and growing. With every breath, with every act of inner courage, we open the possibility of building a life that, far from being marked by superficiality, is grounded in integrity, authenticity, and spiritual connection. The path may be arduous, yes, but it is also filled with moments of sublime revelation. The ability to pause and listen to the silent melody of the soul, to appreciate the complexity of emotions, and to transform pain into a source of inspiration becomes an act of defiance against the inertia of conformity. In this unfolding, existence reinvents itself, leaving behind the shadows of emptiness and emerging into a radiance that arises from within, unbreakable and vibrant. The invitation is clear: to abandon the well-trodden paths that promise fleeting gratifications and embrace the journey of self-knowledge, where each step, though uncertain, becomes an affirmation of life. Internal metamorphosis is not the result of a sudden change but the sum of small daily decisions, the determination to honestly face the forgotten parts of ourselves and, in that process, find the strength to be reborn. Thus, dopamine addiction transforms into a mirror reflecting the need to reconnect with the essential, to reclaim the ability to marvel at the depth of being, and to live each moment with full awareness. In the end, the essence of this transformation lies in the ability to turn emptiness into a fertile space where creativity, love, and spirituality flourish in harmony. The internal struggle to free oneself from the chains of superficial pleasure becomes a vital dance, in which every turn, every pause, holds the promise of a rebirth that transcends the limitations of the ego. It is this fusion of light and shadow, impulse and reflection, that ultimately leads us to discover an unshakable truth, that fulfillment is not found in avoiding pain but in the courage to embrace the totality of the human experience. As we let go of the need to escape into fleeting gratifications, we open ourselves to the possibility of experiencing a genuine connection with the world and with ourselves. Authenticity becomes the guiding beacon in every action, the certainty that by integrating each fragment of our existence, we draw ever closer to the essence of being. And in that process, suffering and joy intertwine in a unique narrative, where each challenge transforms into an opportunity to reinvent life and to discover that, in the union of the internal and the external, a full and vibrant existence takes shape. The journey ahead is undoubtedly complex and full of nuances. However, within that complexity lies the promise of genuine transformation, the possibility of restoring the lost connection with our true self. In a world saturated with stimuli that keep us in a perpetual state of distraction, the path to integration emerges as an act of rebellion, a cry for authenticity amid the chaos of daily life. The invitation is to free ourselves from the tyranny of immediacy, to discover the hidden treasure in contemplation, and to recognize that in every moment of silence and reflection lies the key to deciphering the enigma of our existence. Thus, in this journey of inner rediscovery, each step becomes an experience of self-affirmation, where pain and joy merge into a symphony of emotions that enrich the soul. The ability to transform suffering into a driving force for change becomes a sublime act of self-love, a determination to live authentically, and a celebration of life in all its manifestations. The challenge of abandoning the compulsion for the immediate becomes, then, the opportunity to build an existence in which each moment is lived with intensity, where each experience, however fleeting it may seem, is celebrated as part of the greatness of being. When we look within, we discover that true wealth is not found in the clamor of external rewards but in the stillness of a soul that has reconciled with its history and learned to turn each scar into a mark of wisdom. The internal metamorphosis, driven by the will to reconnect with the self, invites us to transcend superficiality and live in tune with a deeper truth, one that reminds us that we are more than the sum of our impulses and that, in every heartbeat, lies the possibility of being reborn in wholeness. On this journey, the integration of the spiritual and psychological dimensions emerges as the key to unraveling the knots that bind our emotions and reclaiming control over a life that, despite its challenges, overflows with potential. Personal reinvention is nourished by the ability to face darkness, embrace uncertainty, and transform emptiness into a space of infinite creativity. In doing so, we discover that true freedom lies in authenticity, in the courage to live according to our inner truth, and in the determination to build a future that honors the complexity of our being. The search for meaning beyond immediacy becomes a personal epic, in which each step, each choice, holds the potential to transform existence into a living work of art. The connection with the self, this inexhaustible source of light and wisdom, invites us to embrace the totality of human experience, to rediscover the value of reflection, and to live with the conviction that, in the union of the material and the spiritual, the true meaning of life is forged. In the end, what emerges is a celebration of authenticity, a reaffirmation that, by facing our shadows and rediscovering our essence, we free ourselves from the chains that bind us to an empty and superficial existence, paving the way for a life of depth, meaning, and an emotion that transcends mere instant gratification.